Hello, everyone. I'm thrilled to be with you at the Feminist Majority Foundation's National Young Feminist Leadership Conference. I also want to say hello to an icon in the women's movement, Ellie Smeal, who has from the very onset been there full-time, every day, all day, to promote women's leadership. I'd like to take a moment to recognize the students, both men and women, women and men, in the room today. You have much more power to affect change than you think, and that's part of my message. For example, last year I met with co-eds who were sexually assaulted at the University of California, Berkeley, who told me their stories. As co-eds, they wanted change, and they got change. They prompted the California legislature to audit the University of California and the California State University system's compliance with Title IX. It was also these young co-eds that helped make California the first state in the union to pass yes means yes, or in the alternative, no means no. And it was students that pushed the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights to become more transparent about their investigations. Even with this progress, more work remains to be done when 20% of young women and 6% of young men are victims of attempted or actual sexual assault while in college. In the face of these realities, I'm reminded of one of the themes of this conference, the need to reclaim our rights as women and men of this country. Did you know that a 2001 poll showed that 96% of Americans believe that men and women should have equal rights? That same poll showed that 72% of Americans mistakenly believe that the Constitution already includes such a guarantee. The reality is, 92 years after Alice Paul first introduced the Equal Rights Amendment, we're still fighting to get women into the Constitution to protect them from discrimination. That's why I will be reintroducing legislation to pass the Equal Rights Amendment once and for all. Now you may say, why do we still need the ERA? Our friend, U.S. Supreme Court Justice Scalia, said it perfectly. Quote, "Certainly the Constitution does not require discrimination on the basis of sex. The only issue is whether it prohibits it. It does not." Unquote. Without the ERA, women must overcome burdensome legal barriers to assert their rights. First, the 14th Amendment is limited because it only applies to discrimination by the government, not purely private businesses. Even then, women must also prove that the government intended to discriminate based on sex. This intent requirement leaves women with no legal recourse for many forms of discrimination, including unequal pay for equal work, pregnancy discrimination, and gender-based violence. We've seen similar difficulties in the application of laws that reach private actors like Title IX, the Equal Pay Act, the Pregnancy Discrimination Act, and the Violence Against Women Act, where women have had to overcome additional obstacles to prove discrimination that clearly occurred. Many of these laws are limited in reach precisely because we don't have an Equal Rights Amendment. These legislative victories ring hollow when they won't be applied by judges. They ring hollow when the Supreme Court strikes down part of the Violence Against Women Act because domestic violence doesn't constitute interstate commerce. They ring hollow when a woman like Peggy Young is fired for demanding reasonable pregnancy accommodations. And they ring hollow when women fear for their safety between classes. We need a constitutional amendment to show, once and for all, that women truly are equal and deserve protections just like anyone else. The time for the ERA is now, and we need you to help us continue to fight for women's rights, domestically and globally. I applaud you for being here today. Now I want you to do one last thing. I want you to stand up. I want you to turn to the side. And I want you to do this. We can do it.